Hopefully you guys can all see that.
Hey, senior scholars and alum. Melanie here, program manager at TheDream.Us, and very proud TheDream.Us graduate, coming to you with our series, What You Need to Know. This is where I share with you on how to get the most out of your TheDream.Us scholarship. Now let's talk GRE. Most graduate programs require you to take the GRE exam as a part of the application process. Now, GRE fees can be a little pricey. They can cost you up to $220. A lot of guacamole. That's why the Dream.Us has a partnership with the GRE board to get you up to 50% off. A few things to keep in mind. One, make sure the graduate program you are applying to even requires a GRE. Two, if they do require a GRE exam, check to see if they require a subject test or just a general test. And don't worry, we have codes for both. Three, the codes expire, people. So make sure you're only applying if you're planning to take the GRE within the next 3 months. To learn more about the GRE discount, click the link in the caption. You'll need your Scholar App ID to complete the form, which you can find in your ISTS Scholar portal. Let's be real. Every year, you all tell us on our surveys that you have a desire to pursue your college education dreams by attending grad school. We hear you and know that one of the first things you have to knock out in this process is these entrance exams. Also, check out our video on Kaplan Test Prep, which is a free GRE test prep course for Dream.Us scholars and alumni. So make this your year and take advantage of the grad school resources that the Dream.Us has to offer. Stay tuned for our next video where I'll share more about what you need to know.
So that was our amazing colleague, Melanie, who is not just one of our staff members, but also a Dream.Us alum herself, who does a great job at putting those videos together, right? Welcome back. So before we start, we want you guys to introduce yourselves. Please let us know who you are, where you're coming from, what degrees you're looking at, and just sort of introduce yourself. Let's get some bodies in the counts. Let's get some conversations going. And while you guys are doing that, I will pull up this presentation. So hopefully everyone can see that. So today we're going to be talking about paying for graduate school. Our agenda items are, we are going to be talking about whether grad school is for you, and also talking to some amazing young women who are dreamers, who are in graduate school or going into graduate school right now, to talk to you about their process, how they were able to go through applying and figuring out how to pay for graduate school, which is like the stars of the show, obviously. And then we will also be talking to our colleagues, Gabby Pacheco, who's going to be talking about some source funding and private loans as a sort of last resort. And then we will go into your questions and important announcements, right? So let's move on to, is graduate school right for me, right? And so this is a really important question, right? Because I know that most of us, we look at our undergraduate degrees and it's almost a no-brainer, right? Like everyone's like, yeah, I have to go to college. I want to get my degree. We don't always look at graduate school in the same manner. And so one of the things we really you want to look at is, what is the return on my investment, right? It's almost like you're paying for this and you want to make sure that you're getting what you need out of it, right? And so one of the questions you want to ask yourself is it needed to achieve your career goals, right? So there are many careers and professions. If you want to be a lawyer, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be an architect, an engineer, you will need an advanced degree in order to get licensed and be able to practice and be able to work in those fields. But not every career field requires you to get a master's degree or an advanced degree program, right? You will be able to still do the work that you want to do, the passion and fulfill those dreams without actually having to get an advanced degree, right? So that's one of the things that you want to start to assess and make sure that you're thinking about before you're making this really sort of deep financial commitment. Which brings me to number two, right? Can you manage that financial commitment, right? It's very now, once you're in school and you're going through that process, there are tons of little hidden expenses that you have to sort of make through as you're going through the process of going to graduate school. And the long term, right? If you're taking out loans, you will be paying those loans for quite a long time, as you will hear from our next presenters and from Gabby when she starts to speak about the loan process, right? So again, things to sort of assess and really evaluate. Will getting an advanced degree increase my earning potential, right? So sometimes you probably will make the same with that bachelor's degree that you would make with that master's degree, right? So it may not make sense to take on that financial burden um, if it's not going to really reap the benefits financially for you to be able to cover that, right? I'll go on a little small tangent. I had a student who graduated and received her she was a registered nurse. And before going into the master's program, she really just worked for 5 or 6 years until she wanted to make more money and become a nurse practitioner, which she would only be able to do having gone on and getting that master's degree. So that was a clear sort of indication for her that she needed to get an advanced degree if she wanted to move up. Um, and then finally, will this degree make me happier, right? So maybe this is an internal process for you. Maybe this is something that you just want to achieve and complete. And so you really want to make sure that you're balancing that out with the financial commitments and sort of making sure that you'll be able to manage everything that comes along with it in order to gain that additional satisfaction and sense of achievement for yourself. Consider the social implications, right? If you done the research, do you know the qualifications for your program? What are the requirements that you're going to need in order to get to that level? And make sure that you're planning ahead and going through all of these different processes. Make sure that you're talking to people in your desired field and learning from them what it took for them to go through the process and be able to go ahead and achieve this goal. Um, and finally, you want to make sure that you know whether you need a license, what is required for that license after you graduate, and work that into your planning process and thinking about um, whether this is something you want to pursue, right? So these are all questions. I'm not deciding for you guys right now whether you should go to graduate school or not. This is just to help you sort of think about the process and really decide whether that makes sense for you. One thing you definitely want to note is that there is no federal law which restricts undocumented students from applying or attending any type of graduate school or program. However, a small number of schools do have their own internal restrictions and do not accept undergraduate undocumented students. There's a little bit of a link here. You guys will receive the presentation and we'll have access to all the links on the guide. I think Mel may be also putting it into the chat. But you can also look this up in this article and read more information about the graduate school process. It is great pleasure for me to introduce one of my former students. Has been like a daughter to me through this entire process. Isadora Echeverria, who is going to talk to us about her experience in going through her graduate process. And I will hand it over to Izzy.
Thank you, Chris. I'm so excited to be here with you all. A fun fact is that I used to be Chris's assistant in a different lifetime when I was at Hunter College. So it's a really small world here. So don't burn any bridges. Always keep Chris in your corner because he will definitely help you out for as long as you know him. So for some background, I was born in Chile. I'm a DACA recipient and I'm 26 years old. I graduated from CUNY Hunter in 2019, and I'm now a first-year student at Columbia Law School. So I think my path was maybe like a little bit more traditional in the sense that I knew that I wanted to go to law school and I knew that I wanted to be an attorney for as long as I can remember. And I feel like I really pursued that goal throughout my time in college and even before in high school. I think I really did everything to kind of understand what the legal industry was and kind of where I wanted to end up. So Columbia Law School was always my first choice in law schools. I knew that I wanted to stay in New York and be with my family because everyone in my family lives in New York. So Columbia Law School, I will be honest, is the most expensive law school in the country. We're looking at $100,000 in tuition every year, and it's a 3-year degree. And it's also full-time. There is no part-time law degree at Columbia Law School. So I worked for 3.5 years before coming to Columbia this year. And those 3 years were for me super instrumental because though I knew that I wanted to go to law school, I needed to save money. And I lived at home during those 3 years and I saved every single penny that I could to support my family for the next 3 years that I was going to be in law school full time. So why I chose Columbia is really because of the employment rate is so high for students coming out of this program. And also because most students who go to Columbia Law School do end up at a corporate firm practicing corporate law. And the starting salary of a corporate attorney is so high. So I felt comfortable taking out loans. So all my savings kind of went to my family and they're kind of working with that for the 3 years that I'm in law school. But after that, I will again have to support my family. And I'm comfortable doing that because Columbia Law School does provide like a really big safety net, not only in this country, but who knows how DACA is going to look in the next decade or so. So if I do have to work somewhere else, I will always have the Columbia Law School name behind me. So that to me was really important. I have no regrets about going to law school and I love Columbia. So if anybody ever wants to talk about that, I'm happy to connect. My email is on the slideshow, so please feel free to email me. And yeah, so in short, I've relied mainly on institutional need-based funding for my tuition and also savings and private loans. I was able to get a private loan through my brother, who's a green card holder and who was able to co-sign. And again, all of these factors, including like where I'm going to be employed, what I'm doing over the summer, all of those things I took into consideration when taking out these private loans, because again, like Chris said, we're looking at the return on investment for these 3 years. So yeah, I think that's it for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Izzy. You guys will have time to ask Izzy questions later on in the session, but we're going to move on to our next speaker, Andrea Chavez, who is still currently a Dream.Us scholar. Andrea, I may have this incorrect. I believe she's graduating this semester and has been accepted to Brown University. So I don't want to go into too many more details. Let Andrea hear it. You guys don't want to hear from me. You guys want to hear from Andrea. So Andrea, go ahead, take the show.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Chavez, and I am a current senior at Trinity Washington University. I was born in San Vicente, El Salvador, and I'm currently minoring in chemistry. I'm currently majoring in chemistry and minoring in data analytics. And I just wanted to clarify that I was fully undocumented throughout my whole collegiate career. And so that's kind of what spiked me to look into different avenues in order to seek more opportunities. So a huge component of my path and to me getting accepted to Brown University was actually the TheDream.Us. I remember earlier this fall semester, I reached out to Don Graham and a couple of other people at The Dream and found a way to convince them to sponsor me to HACU, which is the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities. They were holding their conference in San Diego, California. And because I was fully undocumented, I wanted to get out of my comfort zone and really go up to people and talk to them about what opportunities I am eligible for. So during that conference, I was able to network, and one of the people that I met was actually the director of the Health Equity Scholars Program at Brown University. And that was a program that would fully fund my graduate school and also provide me with a research assistantship if I was admitted. Additionally, she also talked to me about what other requirements were I had to complete in order to be eligible for it. Luckily, they didn't require a GRE. So in that regard, I didn't have to worry about a GRE. And I remember after I came back from the conference, I had that in my notebook, and I didn't really think of applying to any type of master's programs because I previously wanted to go to dental school. However, because of health complications, I knew that I had to change career paths. And after talking to my advisors about it and to various other people in the field, I knew that I wanted to go into public health because I wanted to address health disparities in Latino and immigrant communities in order to give back to where I came from. And so in February, I had this daunting task on me, either to decide to apply to Brown or just go straight into the industry. Luckily, by that point, I did get deferred action through special immigrant juvenile status. So I had work as an option, but I decided to take the risk and apply. So around a month after I applied, I received an interview, and I was super psyched about this interview because I was like, oh, maybe I'll get accepted. And that interview was for the Health Equity Scholars Program. So they talked about me. They talked to me about why I was interested in public health, what challenges I have encountered throughout this process. Which, of course, I mentioned my immigration status because that was a huge component of why I had developed so much resiliency through this whole process. And luckily, in March, I received my decision, and I was accepted to both Brown University's School of Public Health, as well as the Health Equity Scholars Program, to which they granted me 100% tuition and fee scholarship, as well as a monthly living stipend that was granted through a research assistantship. And so to add to that, I would also like to mention that you all have the ability to negotiate with financial aid in order to better your financial aid package. For me right now, what I'm currently struggling on or thinking about in the back of my head is that I won't be around my family anymore. I am a national scholarship, so this would be the first time that I'm away from family. And I also didn't know that in graduate school, you had to find a way to get your own housing. So right now we're currently apartment hunting. But I'm just very excited about the whole process, and I would like to influence you all to get out of your comfort zone and go to these conferences. I know that TheDream.Us currently has a conference fee scholarship, so I would highly encourage you all to take advantage of that because you just don't know what recruiter you're going to encounter that could possibly lead to your next steps. So yes, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Andrea. That is so amazing. I see the chat just blowing up for both of you. Just everybody's like really proud and just seemingly really inspired. So thank you both for sharing a little bit of your stories. Moving forward, because I do want to make sure that we have enough time for students' questions. I think what we're sort of talking about here is that You know, if grad school is for you, if you decided that this is what you want to do, this is a possibility, right? You can definitely do this. Brown and Columbia are amongst one of the most elitist colleges in this country. And you have two very strong, powerful women here right now who have made that happen, right? So you can do it as well. But it is not easy, right? Like they're telling you the struggle is real, right? So you have to make sure that you are planning and that you are putting yourself in a good place to go through this process, right? This is a little bit of a pie chart that was put together by one of our other alum. And you could see his little note there that he had put together when he was doing his fundraising campaign. But I really want you to focus on the chart, right? This is an amazing breakdown of how he began to plan his journey and make sure that this was something that he was going to be able to accomplish, right? So like Izzy said, like she took those 3 years off to make sure that she was saving. You can see that he had his savings in his chart. He had family that was contributing to his overall budget in this piece. There were merit scholarships. Yale gave him a scholarship. He received a dream scholarship. And with all of that, he still had to take out a $30,000 loan, right? And even with the loan, there was still a gap of $15,000, right? So this is a great way to sort of visualize and help you get on track and really sort of materialize your goals and know exactly where you can pull funds from in order to reach the ultimate goal of paying for your tuition. For that gap, as you can see from his note, he put together a GoFundMe page and was able to raise the additional funds that were needed for him to be able to complete his degree. I don't want to go through the actual slide, his actual page, but the link is here. You guys we'll get the link in the PowerPoint and can check it out. It's a really amazing story. As we're showed, this is a sort of pool of different sources that you will need to consider and look at and pull from. These are a list of fellowship and scholarship opportunities that are open to undocumented students. So regardless of immigration status, you will be able to apply and receive these scholarships. Please do your homework, start looking at them now, start looking at what their criteria are. And make sure that if you are interested in doing that, that you are getting those applications ready, you got your recommendation letters ready, that you're just doing everything you need to do in order to apply for these opportunities, right? Because if you don't have them now, you're going to struggle to get them when you're going through that application process, right? So planning ahead is really the key. And the self-funding piece, right? So like Izzy said, she had taken some time off in order to save money. That is something many students do, right? A lot of students who are looking at going to grad school understand that the financial commitment could be strong and take a semester, a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever that is for you in order to save the funds to be able to, you know, make that supplement and filling this out. Whatever, there is no right number, guys. Like people always tell me, like, what's the right amount of time? That's something that you have to figure out yourself and really sort of go through your own process and figure out how you'll be able to save those funds and be able to make your own plan. With that, I'm going to pass it off to the amazing Gabby Pacheco, who is going to be speaking to us about crowdfunding.
Thank you so much. And I am going to share with you some of these campaigns, because I think that for all of you and for me, I learn best by actually doing or looking at things. So this is Steve, and this is what Chris was talking about. So Steve is a student from California, and he also took some time off to work and really weighed his options and said, you know, I want to go back to school and I want to be a nurse practitioner and I want to be a psychiatric nurse. So he put together this fun GoFundMe campaign, and his original goal was $15,000. he was able to raise over his goal of 16,000 and then put his goal up to $20,000. And what I want to show you here is a couple of things that is going to be really important and key when you're doing any fundraising campaign. So the first thing is that you have to have a strong title. And this title has to say your name, what you want to be able to accomplish and do, and the action, right, that you want the individuals to take. So for example, Steve put, help Steve become a nurse, right? To the point, easy, but I know what I'm doing and I know where my money's gonna be going. The other thing that you wanna do is make sure that you have a good picture. So here you have him in his scrubs. I automatically see that and I'm like, of course I wanna help this young man get to nursing school. And then the other thing that he does, which he does really, really well, is that he lays out his story. It is compelling. It shows the reasons why he wants to do this work. It also shows the amount of work that he has put in to be able to do that. So when you're thinking about individuals and people usually like to help and support winning campaigns. That's just how human beings are, right? So you got to think about this as you want to make sure that individuals that you're reaching out to understand and know that their money that they're providing and giving you, contributing to your campaign, is an investment, and that their return on investment is actually going to be great because you are going to be doing these amazing things. And so if I'm looking at the stock market, for example, I'm going to put my money in usually companies or things that are doing well and have a good solid background. So you got to think about it this way. And I know it's kind of weird, but unfortunately, that's just how human beings think, right? And so we like to be in, right? We all have the nice shoes or the purses or similar things, right? When there's an artist like Bad Bunny, we all go to Spotify and listen to the same songs that other people are doing, right? That's just human beings. And you have to target that as you are doing these fundraising campaigns. The other thing that you want to make sure that you do as far as like giving information about your campaign is that you want to update people and you want to make sure that you are providing updates and information of what's happening throughout the campaign. The last thing that I want to mention is that you also want to make sure that you are not too ambitious. So for example, asking for $20,000 is a lot of money. Is it doable? Yes, but it might be better to start smaller and say, you know, $5,000. And once you meet that goal, you change the goal to $10,000. Because if I see a campaign that only has $1,000 raised and their barometer here shows $1,000 of 20,000, people are not going to be inclined to give more money. So here are other campaigns. This one is Herman, who today is actually a professor. He is a doctor in psychology. And back in the day when he was a dreamer, he also did a fundraising campaign in order to get support to go to medical school. Or it's when you go to psychology, his master's in psychology and PhD. But he was able to raise 19,500. And here is a really well put together GoFundMe campaign. His name, he says chasing his dream. He has a nice picture of himself with the word PhD on the background. He has a powerful story that he talks about himself, the struggle, what he's been able to accomplish, all the things that Andrea was talking about, how she was able to talk about herself and her perseverance and what she's been able to learn, right? Like this is another thing that also helps your campaign. So one thing that I did want to mention is that Steve, for example, put Venmo because GoFundMe will charge or take a small percentage of the money that you raise. So he strategically said, hey, if you want to just sell me some money to my bank account and not go through GoFundMe, go ahead and do that. And I do, full disclosure, did give to Steve's campaign, and I was one of those that said, I don't want to pay the fee for GoFundMe. What's your sell? I'm just going to sell you something, right? Here's another one. This one raised $2,000 or $4,000, which is pretty good as well. Making a dreamer's college dream come true. Beautiful picture of herself, her story. And this one I think was really powerful because she was able to raise 10,342. But some of these GoFundMe campaigns do get the attention of the local media. And this was Rachel. She actually did get attention of the local media, and her link was shared in a story. And then it just became like viral in a way, and people were able to raise funds. Don't discount the small dollars. $20, $10 will get you a long way. So make sure that when you're doing your campaigns, that you don't discount those things. And then the other thing is, if we go back to the presentation, Chris, if you can put it back up on the slide, is that you want to make sure that when you are preparing your GoFundMe campaign, that you have people ready to act. By that, what I mean is that you want to make sure that there are a couple of people and friends that can go in and start giving money, even if it's $5, even if it's $10. What happens is that the same way that once a reel goes viral because many people start sharing it or it gets viewed more, GoFundMe starts putting you higher in their web searches because more people are going to it. So make sure that you have a game plan that when you hit send and you start sharing it, you have a couple of people ready to go that are going to give $5, $10, $20, whatever the amount is. And that you also ask people, maybe they cannot give you money, but they do have an Instagram account or a Facebook account that has a couple of thousands of people and they can share it. And that's one way to get more attention of folks. And again, I usually see those and I'll give $10, $5. I have one where it was a friend of mine and he was saying, oh, I have a high school student that wants to take this trip to Italy. Can you help? And I was like, sure, here's $10 type of thing. So making it go viral is something that is a little bit of work. It just doesn't happen on its own. And you have to strategize to have a couple of people ready to go to be able to do that. So the next slide. So the other thing that we want to talk to you about, and I really want for us to pause and we want to have a real talk, a real conversation with you all. So private loans are an option and they're out there, but private loans are with you for the rest of your life or until you pay them off. So this should be your last resort when you're looking at funding for school. Number one, there are some programs. We helped 2 years ago start a program. We provided guidance for the Dreamer Loan Program that is right now being handled by a company called Funding You. And so Funding You, right now, the interest rate for the loans are around 8-point-something%. When you do the math on a $100,000 loan, it's not just the interest that you're taking on that $100,000, but every year that loan is grabbing and increasing in the interest that you're not paying, right? So make sure that you do your math, and we're going to tell you a little bit about Funding You and 2 presentations that they're going to do, that they're going to go over some of these details, but that is one of the lowest interest rates that there are out there. There are other private loans. Ascent has private loans. Self-Help has private loans. Discover has private loans. Those are going higher and higher. We're talking about 10, 12, 15. And when you're going to that, I usually tell people, Do you really want to take these loans out? Do you understand how much in interest you're going to be paying for that? So understand that these private loans, you must repay no matter if you have a job after 6 months, which is usually the grace period that you are given after graduation. So no matter what, if you have an immigration status, if you have a job, if you didn't do well when you were in school, none of that matters. As soon as you sign that bottom line, you are responsible to pay that off. And unlike what we hear, for example, in the news about President Biden wanting to forgive $10,000 or up to $20,000 of student loan debt, those are federal loans, and those are different than private loans. We also hear people say, oh, I worked in the nonprofit sector for 10 years and I'm getting my loans forgiven. Again, those are different types of loans. These are not private loans. So these loans are going to be with you usually for 10 to 20 years. And so be prepared to understand all of that as you are shopping around for the best possible options for you. And then the other thing that I do want to say is that TheDream.Us last year launched a scholarship program that helps you lower your loan debt. The maximum amount you can receive is $10,000. You can go to the TheDream.Us website /graduate-loans, and there you're going to see that information. This year, that program is going to open on June 12th and it closes on August 31st. In order for you to apply, you must be a TheDream.Us alumni that has graduated in good standing from the TheDream.Us. And you must also be somebody that has taken out a loan and has already received a promissory note. So if you fill this out because you think you're going to get a loan in the future and don't have a promissory note, you're not going to get this. So this is only for those that are getting a loan this year. Now, I want to pause there and say something that it's really, really important. First of all, how many of you are alumni of the TheDream.Us? And let me see if I can look at gallery view. Oh, I'm seeing those hands. Amazing. Great. All right. How many of you, and now tell me the truth, how many of you have filled out your alumni survey? Yes, I'm starting to look at some of you. Let's see those hands. Let's see how many of those hands are still up. Wonderful. So thank you so much for those that have already filled it out. I know that we call you, we text you, we email you, but the reason why we created this loan program, the only reason why this loan program exists is because we saw in the alumni survey a huge number of students that told us we want to go to graduate school. And we started putting our heads around and saying, what can we do? And we started reaching out to people and we started saying, we need an alternative option to these private loans that are charging our students 10, 11, 12%, 15%. And we need something that is much more dreamer friendly for our students. And this is where this loan program came about. Again, I want to reiterate that we have nothing to do with it. It's private, but we did help convince people and convince investors to think about ensuring that our students had also an option to be able to get to these private loans. And I do want to say that for those that are current scholars, you will receive your yearly scholar survey soon. So be on the lookout for that and be on the lookout for our emails asking you to please fill it out. So just one last thing on the survey. Sometimes it goes into your spam and we apologize. I know that it's a little annoying, and if you don't see it, it's out of sight, out of mind. But you can go and just put alumni survey on your search in your email. And if you haven't gotten it, please do send us a message, because we might be sending it to an email that you might not be looking at anymore. A lot of the times, some of you use your old school emails. So please let us know, and we will make sure that you receive that link to the alumni survey. So the last thing I want to share, the next slide, is the financial literacy that Funding You is doing. So do mark your calendars. Social Finance and Funding You are doing sessions about their private loan program. There's one that's happening on Thursday, April 13th from 3 to 4 p.m. And this is going to be a key overview on what is the loan, eligibility criteria, and any of the main loan terms that you need to know. And then the second one is going to be on April 27th from 3 to 4 p.m. And this one is a financial education workshop. And this one is also really important because this one is going to explain to you what is your repayment forbearance period. Forbearance is a fancy word for saying, you know, what are the things that you can do to pause being able to pay the loan for a month. Usually it's like a month to 3 months. If you have, for example, you lose your job or there's, you know, some circumstances that don't allow you to pay for that. So it's really key that if you're interested, even if you are taking out other loans from other private programs, I really highly suggest that you sit into these so that you listen and learn about these programs. And the last thing I want to say about specifically the Funding You is that they are now open to all students with DACA and TPS. So Izzy, if you're looking for a cheaper loan option that doesn't require a co-signer, this program is now open to all students, no matter if they're Dream.Us alumni or not. So if there are other people that you know, or you want to just let them know, this is another option available for you all. And so, again, this is really important information that you can always find. And all of this that we're sharing with you, you will be able to find in your Scholar Hub. So make sure that you're utilizing that you're, you know, take some time to go over it when you're bored, if you're like on the bus or just not doing anything, you go and check out the website, go on the Scholar resources and just see what's out there, because we're going to be constantly updating and putting more information. Okay. And then Chris, just you're on mute.
Of course I was on mute. So I said thank you, Gabby, for all of that great information. Thank you to our panelists. Why don't we open up the floor for some questions? We still have roughly 15 minutes to go. You guys can put your questions in the chat. You can raise your hand and we would be able to unmute you. Please let us know if you have any questions for our panelists. Paola. Oh, we got tons of hands now.
Hi, I'm Paola. I'm a senior at the University of Houston, majoring in finance. And my question is for Andrea Chavez. Earlier, you were talking about the process of negotiating your financial aid. I was wondering if you could go into depth on what that process would look like and who would be the right person to speak to.
So for negotiating your financial aid, I would advise you to go to the financial aid department. You could probably shoot them an email and get an appointment with them to talk about what that would entail, and they'll manage everything else.
Is there a way are there any resources that you would recommend for me to get educated on that? Simply because typically my conversations with financial aid is just fill out this form, which is like has all my details about my tax return, and then they figure everything out.
I would probably, for that, it's really about just talking to the right people. So I would probably suggest that you can either email them or get someone else that is in the department and try to see if you get more answers that way. But in regards to the negotiation process, I don't really have a lot of experience with that because I haven't gone through it myself. Maybe Gabby has more information about that for you.
And I was putting something in the chat, so I couldn't hear what the last part of the question was. If you don't mind, please asking it again.
Yes, I asked about the process of negotiating and the financial aid and who would be the right person to talk to. And given that a lot of people don't know about this, there could be a chance that people in the department don't know that they can negotiate. So how can do you have any resources that can help educate me when it comes to having these type of discussions?
Yeah, so I would say that it depends on the school. Sometimes it is with a financial aid office. And the thing is that what you have to understand is that it really is like going to a whole brand new school. Even if you are, for example, at CUNY, and then you start working with the CUNY grad program, they're like two different entities in essence. They might have the same name, but they don't share the same, for example, financial aid people. There's a dean and of the schools, right? So what I would say is that your best resource is to really look at LinkedIn to see other students in that school. Try to reach out to them and network with them and ask them, are you willing to tell me what your financial package, how you're going here? And I would say that if you're starting to hit a wall, building a relationship with the deans and the people who are in charge of the programs are going to be really key, because these folks do have the power. I have seen that financial aid offices have said, oh, sorry, there's nothing more that we can do. And a student has then talked to the dean and said, this is the situation that I'm in. And magically they find a grant or a fellowship or something like that that are able to help the student. So I guess the short answer is gently, respectfully be pushy and try to talk to as many people as possible, especially if you're hitting a wall. A lot of times people say no because they don't know, or they say no because they're being told to say no. So just keep pushing until you find somebody that can be helpful.
Thank you so much.
Estefania, your Estefani is the name that's on top of my list with their hand raised. So if you want to mute yourself and ask your question.
I don't have any questions. No, I'm good.
No?
No, I don't have any questions. I'm good.
Okay. I'm not sure if these hands raised are the ones from your question before, Gabby, or
I see Irma with her hand raised.
Hi. So yeah, I'm actually a student right now at Rutgers, but I saw this in my message, so I'm really glad because I was thinking about graduate school. I'm thinking about business admin at Harvard. So the fact that this, I saw this, it means that it's obviously possible, which I, had no idea. Thought out is just a crazy dream for me. So thank you guys, first of all. And I guess I got a lot of information, and I would say regarding the planning, do you like, if I wanted to, I have one more year at Rutgers. I'm a major in physics, so I was wondering if, recommendation wise, if you would recommend just going to work after it. But I already have I have credit debt from obviously bad financial decisions in the past. And do you see if do you see that, do you guys think that it's possible for me to go straight to that program, to like a master's program, or should I really just go to work and do that. Previously I worked for a long time and wasn't able to save up. So I don't know that it'll be any different this time. Obviously, it'll be a matter of making different choices. But yeah, I just wanted some guidance, I guess.
So my suggestion to you is to weigh are you ready? It's one of the questions, right? Have you taken the exams or the program? What are the requirements of the programs that you're looking at? Are you ready for that? And then are you ready to pay, for whatever it is that the cost is going to be? One thing that it's really important that we haven't mentioned is that, yes, these big schools like Brown, Columbia, Harvard, Yale tend to have the best packages, but don't discount little tiny schools in the middle of nowhere. And if you're willing to go to these towns and go to, I know, for example, a couple of years ago, we did a similar presentation for alumni who was interested in law school. And this student applied to over 30 law schools, looked at all the different ones that he got in. He studied really hard to make sure that he got the best possible LSAT scores. And then he went to a tiny town in Texas for a law school that was a private Baptist school. And he said they gave him the best financial package. And he's like, I don't want to have debt, and they're going to pay for my whole entire schooling, plus give me housing. I'm going there. So think about those things too. And I do want to say that it is good sometimes to just take a year and take a gap year to think through and really say, all right, is this the right path for me? There is no necessarily like rush. I understand that some people might feel like there's a rush because they have DACA and they want to like be able to get those opportunities. But there was people going to graduate school before DACA. There will be people going to graduate school after. And then the other thing too is I know some people have said, well, now that I have DACA and I have a work permit, I want to be able to make as much money as I can now to be able to save. So those are just, I think, personal things to think about. And the last thing I do want to say is that for many of these loans, while, for example, the Social Finance Funding You Dreamer Loan Program, even though they do not look at your credit score, they do look at your credit. And majority of these loan programs will look at your credit. And if you do have any late payments or delinquencies in your account, you will not be eligible for them. So I have seen students that have applied to them and have been denied, and they have told them work with a credit agency that can help you fix your credit and apply next year.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
We do have some questions in the chat. There's one here. Hey, I'm currently undocumented, but my mom is a green card holder. I was wondering if she could take out a student loan in her name for me.
Maybe Izzy, you can tell us about your experience of having your family member co-sign with you.
Sure. So in my experience, I used Ascent loans. They were really helpful in like telling me what I could and couldn't do. But I think it was helpful that I had established a good credit history because I did check my credit score, or check my credit history rather. And they also checked my brother's, who was a green card holder. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that they probably would have given me a loan if I had not been a DACA recipient, but I don't know for sure. So I would double check with the creditors directly and ask them.
I graduated in 2019, and is there any advice or recommendations for applying to graduate programs for someone who has been out of school for several years?
I can take that one too. I also graduated in 2019. And coming back to law school, like I after a couple of years, I think I just really tried to make sure that every experience that I had, whether it was working or interning or any like volunteering, told the same story. So everything that I did was really intentional, and I maintained all of those like good contacts that I had from undergrad, just to make sure that like the whole process was pretty seamless. So I had professional recommendations and I had academic recommendations that I could get from those connections that I made in undergrad, that I maintained during my time off from school.
Is there a list of graduate scholarships in the scholarship hub that are documented or undocumented friendly?
So yes, we have the resources of the links, and Melanie has been sharing it, Kane as well. In your Scholar Hub, you're going to see a document, for example, that has all these resources in one. And the best that I know is the two, Immigrants Rising and My Undocumented Life blog. Those usually have the best links for scholarship programs. And we identified for you all in this presentation the ones that we know have traditionally been supporting undocumented students. So I just reshared the link as well.
We're going to try to take one more question because we are coming close to time and we still have to do a few announcements. This one is kind of related to what you were talking about earlier, Gabby. I was wondering if attending a lesser known grad program would negatively affect one's career long term versus having had attended a more known grad program.
So does anybody know where Miami-Dade Community College is? It's in the name. Yes, Miami-Dade College. So in Miami. So I went to Miami-Dade College for a very long time. For the first couple of years of my life, I felt really ashamed of that because I remember when I was in high school, people would say, oh, you're going to the 13th grade if you go to a community college. And that is far from the reality. I felt challenged, I felt supported, and I was able to be the person that I am today. And so the education that you receive is really in your hands. And I made lifelong friends, networking, being involved in organizations, talking to my scholar advisor, and being part of like SGA. And one of the things that I felt that I didn't miss out was by going to conferences. And so my first conference I ever attended, similarly to Andrea, was Haku. And it changed my life. And I was able to connect with people and students that were going to Harvard and other big schools that I, at that time, when I was a senior in high school, wanted to attend. And so again, we're plugging in the conference grants, letting you know that we have created this program for you all so that you have this opportunity. There are a couple of deadlines coming up. There's a conference that is happening for pre-health. So I've been seeing a lot of people talking about people that want to be in the healthcare industry. There's one that's happening for that. For educators, anybody that wants to be in education, if you want to be a social worker, if you want to be a teacher, an administrator, etc., there's a conference that's happening, and you can go as a group and you can be with other Dream.Us scholars, and also Chris is going to be there as well. So take opportunities for that. And what I would say is that the education that you receive, it's really what's in your hands. So don't worry about the name of the institution. Yes, going to a Harvard and other institutions like Yale, etc., Brown, Columbia, it's amazing, right? But also going and getting your master's degree at other institutions are the same, right? The difference is just that at those places, the network might be a little bit different. You might be going with really rich people to school, and maybe Izzy and Andrea. Izzy's like, yes. They're like, my friends are like able to afford all these things, but don't discount the small schools, especially if these schools are going to want you. They're going to say, oh my gosh, these students are amazing. We're going to give them as much scholarship as possible. So go for the best program for you, not the name of the institution.
Awesome. Great final note, Gabby. We are at time, so just bear with me for one more minute, just some quick announcements. As you saw, we do have programs for GRE to provide discounts for any of you who are scholars who are going into graduate school and need to take an entrance exam. We also have a partnership with Kaplan Prep. That is super expensive. They're like several $100s. They have made their programs available if you're taking the LSAT, the MCAT, the GRE, or the GMAT, completely free to our scholars. So save that money because you're going to be using it moving forward, and take advantage of this opportunity. The hub, again, is your central place for all of information and resources regarding the TheDream.Us and other resources outside of this. The alumni survey, if you haven't done it, I saw a couple of people saying, give me another month. You don't have another month. You have until April 16th. So make sure you get that in. We put the information to use. As you can see already, we hear from you, and we sit around your information and figure out how we can better support you. We have our career workshops that are going to be focusing on entrepreneurship and contract work and working with co-ops, so that people can find career paths regardless of work authorization. So stay tuned to that. That's going to be an amazing series coming up. And then Mel, who you saw in our intro video, also leads our discussions every month on immigration Q&A. The next one coming up is April 27th. Dan Berger, who is an immigration lawyer, will be there to answer your questions. If you have anything personal, he will help provide some guidance. And then new this semester, we've also added a Know Your Rights component. So there'll be a portion of the session dedicated to that as well. There's no registration required. All the links are the same, so you can just click the link, join the session, ask your questions, and learn. I think that's it, guys. Love you all. Izzy, Andrea, Gabby, love you so much. You guys are amazing. All the information you guys provided was super great. I hope this was super helpful for you guys. Please stay in touch with us, and we will continue to be here to support you. Whatever you decide, however you want to do it, we will be here to help provide some support.
I have one more question before we close, if that's okay.
Sure.
I was just wondering, for those that are not going to graduate school immediately after our bachelor's, are we still able, as alumni, to access the Kaplan GRE once we're ready, or is it no?
Yes, you will be. So the GRE and Kaplan programs are available to both our scholars and our alum. So once you've graduated, you'll be an alum. You're always going to be alum. You're stuck with us, but that also means you have access to all of our alumni resources.
Okay, thank you so much.
It's not a problem. Have a good one, guys. Bye.